we now want to go inside. We want to start talking about go below. And how does Steiner talk about that? And this is what we've just talked about, that this is how we are organised. We have this spirit, physical, etheric and astral activity, and we can find this in these four systems that we have. Now, when we come to plants, though, the organisation is a bit different. And part of the, everything can't be said at the one time. And so these sort of information don't turn up until later in the book. I think, I've got a feeling this is probably around lecture 4, this picture. And this picture here is lecture 7. And the actual picture that you need to understand the agriculture course, which is that picture there, doesn't turn up until lecture 8. And so this is one of the problems that the way it's organised. And as you'll see in my book, I bring this picture pretty much to the fore pretty quick. So what we've got in our picture so far is that Steiner's talking about the plant being this physical and etheric being. So the physical structure we see is that substance is being brought up and we've just got this growth process. And we can see in the early development of plants that they're pretty simple, round leaves, and they just grow leaves. You can break a pit off, put it in the ground, grow roots. So we've got this really sort of strong reproductive growth process taking place. And that, in a sense, this is our archetypal plant. And it's not until quite later in the whole evolution of the process that we start to get flowering taking place and sexual reproduction occurring in plants. It's quite late in the whole process. So the sort of basic state of the plant is just this reproduction, as it were, of cells. And so he's already said in that other picture that we have the astral around it, around the plant. And it's physically the atmosphere. It physically is the 80% nitrogen in the atmosphere around the plant. Literally it is that thing. And so he illustrates that in this picture like this, and in that picture by this cloud around it. And there was a question somebody asked the other day about, in this picture, this is the picture of a tree, and he's got this interesting sort of idea of the tree in that we know the wood is very physical, and so he has this idea that the tree is uplifted earth. And so when we're looking at our annual plants, for example, we know they're in the ground and the annual plant is growing in the ground and they've got their roots into the soil there, and that plant is growing out of the, out of the ground, like this. And so what he's saying about the tree is that the tree is lifting the soil up into the air, and so all those parts of the plant that are growing out of the stem actually got their roots in the cambium, and that we need to sort of see the trunk of the tree as soil, really. It's just uplifted soil. And so that we see that the middle of is more like the middle of the earth. And so this is where he's saying that, if you could read this, he talks about the poor etheric forces that are sitting in the wood of the tree. Because, of course, the stronger etheric forces are all in these parts of the plant, in the green parts of the plant. And the astrality is sitting around the plant, around it. And so the image is that we have the light, in particular, working from the outside onto the plant. And that's where we start getting the form of the plant. So this is a picture of a poppy plant. And what we can see in the poppy is that, you can see that we start off with the growth and the leaves are quite round. And then we start seeing this indentation coming in. And as we go up, the indentation gets stronger and stronger. And similarly, we can see this orientation where the tip of the leaf here starts to move down, and see how it starts to get this dominant form at the bottom here. And so what we're seeing is this process of the etheric running out, but the astrality from above, the light from above, starts to work in stronger and stronger and stronger, until there's this point where all of a sudden we have the development of the flower. And so you've got these two processes working. You've got one process that is expanding and the other process that is contracting. And these two basic processes we can see in plant growth. Now there's been a whole lot of work done. A friend of mine did a whole study for about 4 years on this particular method, looking at the same plant grown in different types of compost. And what you would see is that this balance would run up and down. You can see how it sort of goes like that. Well, this line here would come down or it would go up according to the different compost that those plants were growing on. And so what it's saying is that that balance between this etheric and astral activity is being altered by the compost that is being grown. And so this is one of the things that we want to be looking at is, what does a healthy cabbage look like? What's the leaf form of a healthy cabbage? How high should it be at a certain type of leaf form? If the leaves are smaller or if they're big and round and fat, what are we seeing going on in that plant as it's growing? And it's this sort of reference that we're wanting to look at.
And when you say compost, then you just mean soil rather than influence of preparations on a particular compost?
Well, it's the same. Yeah, same thing. Like everything. How is everything you're doing influencing your plant? And so this is the sort of thing you look at that you can see in a rose bush, for example. We all know that when you prune a rose bush, you want to take it to a 5-leaf, don't you? And so by using the preparations on your rose bushes, you can actually push them up and down the scale, and you can jump it from a 3-leaf to a 7-leaf, and you can run it back to a 3-leaf by what you're spraying on the plant. And it's a very interesting sort of game to play once we get into the preparations, is by applying these things to plants, you can observe the effect of the preparations. This is how you learn about the preparations. And so these two basic principles is what in biodynamics we call cosmic and earthly. So that we've got one set of activity that are primarily coming out of the physical and the etheric body that is leading to this expansive growth, and we've got another set of processes that are coming from the astral and the spirit that is contracting. And that's why I was saying about asthma, for example, that when the astrality comes in too strongly, it's limiting the breath. It causes cramps. Bad if you've got low magnesium. And now, magnesium helps the etheric body work into the physical body. If you have low magnesium, your etheric body is not going into your physical body, the astral body is, and you're getting cramps. The astral body is pushing into the physical too strongly, and by taking magnesium, you get the etheric, push out the astral, and your cramps stop. That's how it works. So this becomes the process that we're looking at. We're looking at how is this plant functioning in this normal process. Is it ahead of itself? Is it behind itself?